So about 20 years ago, we developed a project called the Advantage Initiative. And it is a method to measure how aging-friendly communities are. And there are organizations that can use this method to measure their own communities. It includes a survey that we conduct in any community that we're working with. And we report the results of the survey using indicators, actually 33 of them, 33 indicators, so that the community organizations can use that information in order to develop interventions based on really what's happening in their own community rather than some impressions they may get from other organizations or people. So when I first started working on this, it was actually a bunch of foundations who got together and said, wouldn't it be great if communities could measure their aging friendliness? And everyone said yes. And then I got this assignment and I didn't know where to begin. So I called up because I think they were thinking, let's do a US News and World Report on the best cities in the country for aging. And, based on their best colleges, 100 best colleges. So I called the guy who actually did and was in charge of those best colleges. And he said to me, it's all bullshit. So I didn't go down that way. But then the other thing I found was that some cities were really starting to use indicators in order to measure their progress in any area of work that they do. So it could be like homelessness, for example, or affordable housing. And one of the communities that was really a pioneer in this area was Jacksonville, Florida. And lo and behold, they had an indicator on aging. And this is 20 years ago, remember, so this wasn't even talked about. So I was really excited about that. And I looked it up, and it had one indicator, which was the number of nursing home beds in the community. So that wasn't going to work either. But we did a bunch of focus groups with older adults around the country and also younger adults. And we developed a framework, which I'm not showing you here today because of time constraints, with 4 domains of elder friendliness. So that basically describes what are the attributes of an elder-friendly community. And then I mentioned, of course, the indicators, which the values for those indicators come from a consumer survey that we conduct in any community that we're working with. And I'm just going to show you one result from East Harlem. We worked with the Carter Burden Network, which operates several senior centers in the city, and one of them is in East Harlem, and it's called the Leonard Covello Center. Fantastic senior center. I mean, amazing. And they really wanted to know what the deal was with, older adults in East Harlem. So our survey is very, very far-ranging. It asks about health. It asks, the usual questions you would ask. But it also asks older adults to tell us what they think of their communities and what they think about their neighborhoods. Because going to older adults and asking them those questions, they're the end users, right? So they should know whether their communities are good for aging in place. So anyway, we did a lot of these. We had more than 400 respondents. So one of the questions we asked was, during the past 12 months, have you fallen to the ground or floor? And we had 369 respondents to that question. And 40% of them said yes. Now that's a really high percentage because nationally it's really only about a third or less of older adults who fall each year. Then we asked whether they fell more than one time. And of the people who fell, 44% of them said that they fell more than one time. Then we asked them where the fall occurred. Indoors, 39%, outdoors, 46%, and both indoors and outdoors, 15%. Now, this was also kind of alarming because, again, nationally, most older adults fall indoors. But ours here in East Harlem were falling outdoors. So the Carterberg Network got a grant for us to do a bunch of different interventions with older adults to prevent falls, because we figured there are, the causes of falls are multifactorial. So the interventions needed to be multifactorial. So we did quite a few things around fall prevention. And one of them was a photo essay project where we gave older adults cameras, asked them to go into the neighborhood and take photos of where they fell or, trouble spots. So, look familiar? So we have like hundreds of these photos, all in East Harlem. So 2 weeks ago, I went to we held a fall prevention symposium up at Hunter College School of Social Work. And speakers talked about the physiological reasons for falling. They talked about, all the various medical, medications, all the various things that could contribute to people who fall. But they were really thinking about falling in the home. Then they had 3 older adults come and describe their experiences of falling, who were absolutely amazing. I mean, the things that they told us about their fall, it was so well thought out. They were all residents of East Harlem, and all 3 of them fell outside. So until I got up at the very end to talk about falling outside, no one ever mentioned it. And yet here were 3 people who were falling outside. So if you find out that most of the people in your community are falling outside, don't focus so much on the inside, focus on the outside. Now that's a really simple concept, but you'd be surprised at how often that doesn't help. And we just finished a survey on Roosevelt Island. There, only 26% of people fell, and they fell mostly inside. So we're not going to take our outside, recommendations and give it to them. We're going to give them our inside recommendations. So basically, that's my message. If you do something, base it on the data, right? And that's it.